All right. Okay, so this from the short video I made on Tuesday. I created this guy. Now, when I did this, I just worked out. I just have the D and the O of my name. I might redesign this. I like my apostrophe that goes with my name. Maybe I'll do the DOC. I should probably think. I want to be careful that I don't make it unclear the DOC or doc. I wouldn't want anyone to be get the impression that I'm a doctor because I'm not. So, but we'll see. It's the kind of thing where you take on the challenge and see if you can do it. Now here, this process is important in designing something because when you begin, you don't know where you're going to end up, and you figure it out through the process of making it. It doesn't, designing something or making any kind of image, whether it's fine arts or whether it is a design, it doesn't. You don't form it in your head and then have it just sort of like magically come out perfectly when you draw it. Have any of you ever had the experience of trying to draw something and you can't do it? I think I might have asked you this question before.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I've always had that. I mean, I remember running into that as a kid, trying to draw something and couldn't do it. I could get it, and it was always disappointing because what I came up with was like, that's like not what I was thinking. But you really can't, because the thing in your head isn't made of anything. And when the image in your head, you just like, your brain is, our brains are able to create imagery that we have some experience of. We don't really see them because we're not seeing it with our eyes. So that's, I guess, sort of like something that's just mysterious, one of the mysteries of the brain, I suppose. Because like an image in your brain isn't. I mean, like, I don't even know what you would say it's made of. I mean, I'd love to talk to someone who studies the human brain, could tell me like what is it made of? Because it's not like made of. It's not made of nothing. Electrical impulses generated by your mind that are very sophisticated, I suppose. But I find that things that I imagine in my head lack detail. And when you draw it, you have to apply detail. And if you're so like this idea, like those logos, like that one website where people like the drawings of logos that people drew from memory, that some of which are just comically bad. They got the idea, but they don't have the details. They're missing. They're missing a lot. So you have to just draw stuff out and figure it out. So if I have, and I want to do this. 3. I'm going to do this. 3.5, 4, 7. Ah, damn it. I like mechanical pencils, but I break them a lot. Just a little heavy-handed. Okay, remember, I'm drawing a parallel line, I need to measure, make 2 marks, not just 1. And I say that because every semester I see someone winging it, and it doesn't work. Okay, there. There and there. Okay, I have 4 squares. Now, I think for this one, I'm going to try, I used a more like, so here I used the D and the O. I made, in the example from last year, I made like I left these like curves here to make it look like paper going between 2 rollers, or something going between the rollers, something thin. But I think I might make like, when you're writing out like, yeah, okay. I think I'm going to make this, just going to give myself a space here, or maybe I'll just make space below. I'm going to give myself an extra ½ an inch off the bottom for this, and there. Okay. And maybe I'll even do this. Just in case I need it. Give myself an extra bit here. I might need to divide this up a little more. I'm going to mark this, cut this in half. Since I have, if I'm going to use 2 letters, doesn't even look straight. Okay, remeasure that. That's not even, that's wrong. Better. Okay. Here's my D, here's my O. Now, fortunately for me, I have, like, these letters will fit pretty well in here. So initially, just like you can like work out like this. I can make this symmetrical up here. And I can make this symmetrical down here. If I want to make sure I'm curving this to the same degree, or like bringing this down to the same amount, I will measure again. And I'm going to say ½ an inch there. ½ an inch there. that will help me make this symmetrical. And then where the curve begins, I'm going to measure that too. I'm going to make that 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, and then off the center, 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. So it doesn't draw the curve for me, but it allows me to control the curve. So I'm going like that. That is getting really unclear. Here's my color. Those glasses are a little weak. This is better. So if you have the idea that this should go quickly, you're probably wrong. Especially if you've never done this before. I've done this before, and if I'm going to carefully draw out an example that I'll tell you, I know I've done this before in a previous example for a class. If it takes me a little time to just settle down, plan it out, it's going to take you some time to do the same, and you should take the time. When you're learning how to do this, it takes longer because you're doing something for the first time. All right, let me go back. I made that a little bit too sloppy. So drawing down to here, I can start down here. There. And it's more comfortable for me to make the curve just like move my wrist like this, and so I'll turn this paper over so that I can just keep that a little bit more comfortable for how I'm drawing. All right, so that is good. I like it. And I can fatten that up a little bit. I need to do another curve over here. So I'll do this same 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, down 1/2 an inch, this might look smaller because it's only half of that, but just make your measurements and follow that process. That's better. That's pretty good. Even leave a little bit for my apostrophe, like a little fake apostrophe up there. Okay. I need, I guess I can decide. I'm not going to measure that out yet. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Okay. Okay. this here. 1 inch. Let's try this with a 1/4 inch. Let's see what this looks like when it's open a little more. Well, a lot more by comparison. So that's very different to have this, the cutout shape in the center larger as opposed to smaller. I don't have to use the same size. I think I won't. I'm going to see what this looks like if I do like maybe 3/8 of an inch. Not a lot of difference. Is that quarter? Is that in? There's no difference there. Okay. I think if I were making a difference in the size of the opening, I would want to make sure that it's very clear that they're different, not this is 1/4 of an inch thickness here, this is 3/8 of an inch, and it's similar enough that it might look a little bit strange. Maybe I'll, I don't know if there's a reason to do this. All right. Kind of cool. Well, something down here. Better. So if I do this like repetition of the shape where it gets smaller, I'm trying to think like, is there like a activity that this suggests? And I'm not quite sure if that is, and I'm not sure if that really helps me with what I'm doing. So tell me, somebody tell me what which business might you be designing a logo for? And I'll try that here.
I would be trying one for interior design.
Okay, thank you. In that case, here we go. I'm going to call this okay, so interior design services. Mm-hmm. I guess I gotta think about this. Well, I guess I'm using my initials. This is part of the assignment. You know, these assignments are exercises, sort of force you to work within limits. If you are working with a client and the client tells you, I want you to do something a certain way, or I want you to work with something specific, then you have to. You can't say like, oh, I don't really know how to do that. And you can say that, but then they're going to go look for someone that will give them what they want. So you should think about whether or not that's a good idea to tell them, I don't know how to do that. I mean, if you really don't know how to do it, you can just be honest and say, like, you know what? I don't think I'm the right designer for you. Because it'll probably, in the end, it'll probably make both of you happier. Rather than you over-promising and not being able to follow through. But of course, you want to get to the point where you, even if you're not quite sure, you know, I have said yes to commission work when I was not completely sure about. It wasn't that I did not question whether or not I could do it. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. But I told the client, oh, sure, I can do that. Because I was confident that knowing what I know, or what I knew at the time, that I could figure it out. So, and I did. Except in one case that was a complete disaster when I should have said no. And I didn't, and then I learned that, well, sometimes you can say no, and it's better for everybody. Okay, now this, I'm not sure about that right now. All right, so if I'm going to do this, well, anyway, this is like an experimentation of working with these, working with the letters to try to produce something that is visually interesting. I might want this. Just like the door to the inside. This is good. Yeah. Okay, good. So that'll help with this. All right. All right, so what I got there that I'll make a little bit larger here is what will look like a door open in perspective. And I got to think about this. I don't know that I want to make it dark in there because that's a little too, that might be a little bit too sad. Or just like like more mysterious than I want to make it. And maybe this is it. Hmm. I think it needs to be like this needs to be dark. It needs to be light inside. Or if I were to do this, Claudia, as you mentioned, color, I might do this in like a sort of nice, joyful color scheme. Good. But this is, this is the process right here. It's just like I don't know what I'm going to do yet, and I'm trying things. I might decide, that looks stupid, but I don't know until I draw it out. And so go ahead and draw out some stupid ideas that may not work because you don't know until you don't know until you see it. And it doesn't really help you. If you decide, like, and I know I've done this to myself, and I've kicked myself for rejecting ideas without drawing them out or without trying them, because I know I've had ideas that were perfectly good, and even like, I've seen other people use a similar idea that I rejected as like thinking like, nah, that's kind of stupid. And then somebody else comes along and does something really similar and it's really good. And you think, well, I didn't really give it a chance, now did I? So this might be like this D with the middle of the D being like a door opening. That might be a little bit too fussy or too tricky. I should probably curve it so that it looks like it fits. Yeah, now it's hard to read. This might not work. Like this great idea, I may like, you know what, I just can't quite make it work, because if you've got a door open, then it suggests that like maybe you should see something, something on the inside. And if I curve the corners of the door, it doesn't quite look like a door anymore. All right, I might end up rejecting this idea. But this is the thing. So like, if this is an idea that you have, work it out. Just say like, okay, here is like D-O. Here, I'm just gonna maybe put like a. No, pendant light in there, maybe, or that's like more like a window. Interior design. Services. Something to think about in terms of interior design. This is, you can, you don't have to follow this for this assignment because this is all, we're making this up. In Illinois, you have to have, you need to complete and pass the NCIDQ exam, which is a national exam which is basically like it's a test to demonstrate that you actually, that you've learned something and that you know how to do it. Similar to, it's a shorter it's a shorter exam, but similar to the NCARB, which is what architects take to earn the right to call themselves architects, and you get a license from it. So some states have licensing, and Illinois is one of them. So technically, you cannot go out and say and like call yourself an interior designer. Like you wouldn't put it on a business card until you've passed like the NCIDQ, which also requires that you work professionally a certain number of years in a qualified business. So, and you can pass the NCIDQ with the associate's degree. You can take it. Like you have to work a certain amount in a qualified job for a certain number of years in order to qualify just to take the exam. Then you have to pass the exam. So all that to say, if I have not completed all those requirements, I can't say interior designer. I can say interior design services. I can say interior design consultant. I can say all kinds of things that tell you what I do without saying I am an interior designer. Let's see here. This might be it. Interior design services. Let me. Okay. Okay. This is an idea. This might help me get to a better design. And if that's the case, that's fine. I will ink this one. Put this down underneath it. Pen. Inking it is important. You'll see it more strictly graphical when you do. Pencil is sketchy and is not always uniform, and so to try this. So I've learned this, like when you're working through process and you get an idea and then you stop and think, nah, that's stupid, I won't do that. You don't really know. Go ahead and draw something out, even if it doesn't work. See, like some of this, I can clean some of these measurements up if I need to. It already looks better.
Duffy, I didn't understand what you meant by you can clean some of the measurements up.
Well, like this, the 3x3 is arbitrary.
Okay.
And also some of the measurements, like from here to here and here to here. If this is my winner of my 5 that I want you to do, when I draw this out larger, then I can be more precise.
I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
I thought you meant right this minute you're measuring things differently. You're saying when you narrow it down and make your selection,
Yeah.
it needs to be very precise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. At this stage, this can be close. It helps me to measure some of this out so that I can be more precise, or at least I can be somewhat precise. But if I'm drawing this out and I realize like, yeah, like I just freehanded this and I see that the width of the O here and here are not quite the same. And so I'll decide, well, if I use this one, I'll clean that up when I do the finished version. That's what I meant.
Thank you.
Yep. That is a good question. And I appreciate your question. If I say something that doesn't make sense to you, then you should ask me. There is a lot of language in design, art and design, that you may not be familiar with, that I am very familiar with. So, just in terms of how we speak about, how the way I learned to talk about artwork or design or just images in critique or in art history classes might not be familiar to you. And so if it isn't, I'm happy to try to explain better what I'm talking about. When I was in graduate school, I remember encountering the term art speak, and then there was a book published I think in the 80s or the early 90s called Newspeak. And it was really just about the language that people like. It's more like critical language people use in writing about just about anything, but when you're critiquing something. And sometimes the language isn't very clear, and I prefer clarity in language. Yeah, this is, well, I'm going to just give this a chance here. Yep, so if I'm filling this in with the pen, it'll take forever. That's why you got this guy. Not quite as dark, but use the point. Let's take this out here. Okay. And separate those a little bit. Oh, here comes Dennis. Hey, big guy. Are you hungry? You only ate like an hour and a half ago. Come on. I'm not sure about this. I'm going to take that pencil off of there. All right. So, well, I realize this might not be the most thrilling viewing. It isn't. It is. I think it's important to see what the process looks like. Now, graphically, this looks better. When I see it, like I'm looking at it on the screen, and I can see what you see with the overhead. This looks better. I think I might make the contour of the line heavier. Boys, stop it. Hey, wait, leave them alone. Oh yeah, they're gonna You may hear a little snarling as they wrestle, and Elliot teaches Dennis. Again, he's a better fighter. But they're mostly not fighting. All right. Yeah, I could do worse than that. I mean, it's not great. But you know, I had to try this out. If the door could be like if that door could work, I might want to darken this graphically so there's a little more balance. All right.
Debbie, is the O, is the graphic inside it supposed to be a window?
That's a good question. It is, and if it's not clear, then I have more work to do. But it could be like I have door and window, but you know, sometimes it can be implied without being too clear. I mean, I can try creating like this shape for the door is a little like iffy. I could try like something that's a little bigger. And I could fill this in, and maybe that might work. It might be terrible. I might overdo it. But let's just see. Since I don't really have. I mean, you have a lot. You have more riding on the success of your design here than I do, because I'm not turning this in for a grade. But I think it's important to see that sometimes if you can try something different and see if that helps, and maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. And if I liked what I had before, but I was curious about what what if I did something a little bit different there. Well, there's a reason I told you to buy tracing paper. There. So I could have put a piece of tracing paper over that and made the alteration, like trace the whole thing so that I could see what it looks like before I commit to just filling that in and inking it. That would have been smarter. I don't think this looks particularly bad. It might be improved, but let's see here. Now here I could add my name on top. So I want my name. And if I want to fit it like between here and here, make that a little bigger. First name is shorter than the last name, so if this is the center, when I say make a target, I'll finish my first name. That's too small. So if I do this and I think, okay, that's too small. Yep. So if you write it out and it's wrong, then you know, okay, that was too small. Trying something and seeing that what you thought would work doesn't work, or that you just need to you just need to keep working on it. That's a really good way to know. I know that you have to get to the point where you can sort of solve these problems yourself without needing to ask somebody. This is an example of just like, it's trial and error. Like, how do you know how big they should be? Write it out and see, and if it's too small, then make it bigger. That's pretty simple. Okay. Now, I think I like my big eraser. I wonder if I can get interior design services drawn like right across here. Is going to make it pretty small, but this is also like a little sketch. It's going to be, if I chose this as the finished version, it's going to be a much larger, like maybe even like almost like twice the size, like almost twice the width. So I'm just going to write very small here. Interior design services, and it just fits. So this gives me an idea of the scale I'm working at. Okay. And there's my, it's like, here's my, there. I'll just write this as neatly as I can. It goes out a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to get that into so if I chose this one, it would be larger. And when I enlarge it, I can clean up some of what is a little bit messy about it or unclear. There. That took me about 45 minutes or something. Don't assume it's not going to take very long. I want you to make 5 of them like this that are good designs. And making 5 can be challenging when if you come up with 1 or 2 and you think these are pretty good. You might have a hard time coming up with some different logos. And I'll give you the out that if you want to design, you can change what your business is during in the project. So if you decide you want to do maybe you want to do graphic design or fine arts, you can do that, but it's really a matter of coming up with a good logo design. I think that's it. It's a challenge, and you might, if you're struggling for ideas, like you've worked through 2 or 3 and you're thinking, I'm at a loss, and you're not doing anything, try designing for something else. Oh, what is... Elliot, man, you need to be brushed, man. Your hair's coming off of you. Any questions right now? Are any of you doing any drawings right now that you'd like to show us? Hmm? All right. You. Okay. Here. All right. That was a mistake to put you there. Oh, a little baby. All right. Do you have any requests for any other kind of logo you'd like me to try designing? You like to just watch Elliot walk around on the table? Well, I guess that's where you're going to be, right? Okay. Okay, so I will be available until 10:30, 10:40, if you have questions for me. But if you feel like you have an idea of how to begin and you don't need to see more examples, then you may leave the class meeting.